Happy Wednesday, fourth graders. So our comprehension strategy this week is visualize. I hope we're doing a lot of visualizing when we read, or it's really hard to understand what's going on. So when you read, we should be picturing the characters, what's happening, so those key events, and the setting of the story in our minds. We should be able to hear something and then draw a picture of what we see, of what we hear. As you read Sadie's Game, we're going to stop and visualize events to help you better understand the story. So we're going to practice a little bit of visualization. You will do this a lot in fifth grade too. This is a skill it's so important to have as you continue your reading journey. So after reading page 312 of Sadie's Game, I can use the details to picture the events that are described in the story. I visualize Sadie staring out the window as her brother drives off in his car and her mother hugging her. This helps me understand Sadie's feelings, and Sadie feels pretty lonely and sad. So we're going to go back to our story that we read yesterday. We're going to reread the last paragraph on page 312 of Sadie's Game. We're going to visualize how Richie looks as he jogs to Sadie, and think about what words in the text help you picture the scene. As you read, remember to use that strategy of visualizing. So I'm going to go down to we're going to read the last paragraph on 312. Sadie looked up and saw her coach frowning. She searched sadly for her mother, expecting disappointment in her eyes, but instead she saw a wide smile. It was the same happy face she saw in portraits of her mother at home. Sadie followed her mother's gaze to find Richie jogging toward her across the gym, holding a purple and white bouquet of flowers wrapped tightly with a ribbon. Richie's eyes sparkled and his smile gleamed. He bowed to his sister and handed her the flowers as if though she were a queen. So let's go back up and think about that question that I asked you guys about visualizing. So I want you to just stop and think, what words helped you picture the scene? What's going on in that? What words helped you picture the scene? I'll go back to the words. I see the word gym, because they're at the gym. That helps me see visualize that they're in like a gym, like at school, playing basketball. Sadie followed her mother's gaze to find Richie jogging toward her. And what can you picture in his hands? Because it talks about it and gives you such details. A purple and white bouquet of flowers with a ribbon around it. And she felt like a queen. Excellent job on that visualization. We're going to practice that more this week. And then with our strategy, we also have our really important skill that we're going to be practicing independently tomorrow. So our skill is problem and solution. This is one of my favorites, and it's my favorites to teach my kids, my students, and I even see if I cause a problem, what the solution is. So we need to identify the problem and solution in a story. It can help us understand the characters, the setting, and the plot. The problem is what the characters want to do, change, or find out. The solution is how the problem is solved. And that goes with my word grit. If we don't solve our problem, we're not using any grit. So as we reread the story, I can see Sadie has a problem. She does have a problem. I will list the key events in the story. Then I can figure out how Sadie finds the solution. So first off, we're going to list the characters in the story, just as you see this person did right here. They listed the characters. Then they listed the setting. The main setting is the basketball court. That's where most of the things are going on. The problem is Sadie is playing badly. She is upset that Richie did not come to the game. So we're going to find another event when we read the story to come up with a solution. Let's think of an event. Let's go back down and scroll down to an event that leads us to the solution. So sometimes I think it's easier to find the solution. So the problem was Sadie's playing badly. She's upset that Richie did not come to the game. How is this solved in our story? If we go back from our story from yesterday, our solution was towards the end. Let's think about that. Our solution. We could put in, let's see. I think that last paragraph on page 313 really helps. Sadie smiled. Those words meant more to her than I'm sorry ever could. She rested the flowers on her lap and went back out onto the court. Right then, Sadie decided to play the rest of the game with a bouquet in her lap. With her brother watching from the sidelines, Sadie stole the ball from an opponent and dribbled her way to the net, making the first of what would be many amazing shots for the team. So if I had an organizer just like this, and you guys are going to have one tomorrow, that's kind of, I give you the problem and you guys come up with the events and solution, we could put the solution as Richie comes to the game. I'm going to do that on a new page. Richie comes to the game, and Sadie starts to score points. He also apologizes to his sister. So now the tricky part that I think is tricky, you guys probably will not think is tricky. I think that finding the event that leads to that is one of the things that I have a hard time sometimes finding. What event leads us to that as the solution? What fixes that problem? So I'm going to go back because I need to reread. The story was yesterday. Oh. So she was really upset. I mean, how did her brother know that she was upset? What are some things that were happening? Let's just scan through the story on the page. So in that second paragraph, he preferred hanging out with his new friends. She watched through the window. Sadie would keep staring out the window. There were tears clouding her eyes. Her mom said, your brother loves you, even though he's got new priorities now. That doesn't mean he doesn't care. But Sadie felt hurt. Huh. What do you think is that solution or that event that leads to Richie coming to the game? What's the event in the story? Do you think maybe Richie saw his sister watching out the window? He also said towards the end of the story, let's go back and see what he said. He said something really sweet to her. What I know is you're like a whirlwind on the court, and there's no way I'm going to miss my little sister's big game. He put his hand on her shoulder as he said, it's great to have a lot of new friends, but I realized that you are my best friend. So there's an event that's really important. His sister event, Richie realized his sister is his best friend and wouldn't miss the game. So then that leads us to our solution of Richie comes to the game and Sadie starts to score points. He also apologizes to his sister. I think that's a great solution that we have. So tomorrow you guys are going to have an organizer that looks just like this with the character, setting, problem, event, and solution. And you guys are going to be trying to find those events that lead to the solution and figuring out the characters and settings in a new story.